Hey Kevin, for our weekly review of different things that are out there right now for COVID and any kind of sanitizers, we've got this product that came in. It's called a 10L-ULV. Bought it on Amazon. Could you give us a quick review on this? I know you have a little bit of experience with it.
Yeah. So this is a high-end Chinese model. But I just wanted to first point out some problems. One is there's a warning that you can't operate this with wet hands or it might shock you. So they put the 110 volts right here in the handle, which is a little bit iffy. It's thin plastic. I ran it for a minute. One thing I didn't like is this whole thing gets really hot. I think the motors might overheat. One thing I noticed also, I think is kind of a problem with the design, is I don't know if you can see it, but they just glued this and they have wood screws poking into their supply feed tubes. So I don't know if you can see down in there, but they're just like needles waiting to burst the lines. So this is like guaranteed maybe as early as 10 jobs to poke a hole in there, and then the unit won't work. And I noticed other quality issues, like the power cable, with wires just dangling out like this, exposed. That's a problem. But everything is on this thing is kind of put together like that. I'll turn it on and I'll yell. Hopefully you'll hear me. It does produce a lot of material. You'll see that. You turn it on like that. So it looks good. So I do a quick little treatment. See, it shoots it further than most machines, but the particle size that comes out of this, I don't know if you can see the floor there, or I'll see the stuff dripping out of it too.
So Kevin, one thing we realized is
peeing on my floor
at all times with this machine that we've used out in the field, anytime you put this down on the ground, it'll just pee out. So the water and the electrical all go through the same spots.
I know.
So you're supposed to know that this gets hung on here so it's above the tank.
Right, but any ordinary worker is going to do that. But here's the problem. I don't know how they call this ULV. If you can see, I don't know, maybe you can catch it in the camera, but my floor is soaking wet. That's not ULV. So that's really like a sprayer. I know it's not called a sprayer. It has a ULV type head, but there's something that's preventing it from really functioning as a ULV fogger. The particle size is coming out of this, and I can't, this is just an opinion, but looks like 200 microns to 50 microns, not the other way around. I actually pulled a data sheet from Santa Fogger. They truly do what they say. And I just want people to understand that if this is a bacteria at 30 microns, 50 microns you can see with the naked eye, and it also will leave a surface wet. So I think that this unit's producing over in this range, from 50 to maybe 200 micron particles, and that's just my gut feeling about it, because everything's soaked. Now, when you get things wet, you're going to damage electronics and paperwork and stuff like that. A true ULV will, at worst, be at the 50 microns and go all the way down to 0, where 4/5 to 3/5 of the particles you can't even see with your eye. And what that means is paperwork doesn't get damaged, electronics doesn't get damaged, and also you use a lot less material. If you imagine that you're creating a layer on all surfaces the size of your microns, you don't want a sheet that's 200 microns thick, you want one that's 10, because you're going to use 1/20th of the amount of product. And
as a professional in disaster relief and putting together machines for the COVID pandemic, one of the things that I noticed that you probably noticed right away too is you have to put this down in order to fill it, and you have to take this back to your fill station. So I found this cumbersome and problematic. It actually has, it's heavy as well.
It's very heavy.
So you got, decent backpack situation, but here, practicality-wise, I don't think this is going to be good for a big job, maybe a small job, or residential maybe.
Someday we'll show the Santa Fogger, because they have a different method. They use hot swap. In fact, this is one of their tanks. They're hot swap tanks that you just pop in, so you can pre-fill like dozens of these. In fact, since we have one sitting here and we're going to talk about it. So yeah, so you just pop this off, and you can pop out your tanks and pop in fills. So it's easier, it's faster. People love that. And it's also a more manageable weight. But that's a totally different system. We'll do a review on those another time. But as far as this is concerned, I'm looking at my floor. It's probably been 3 minutes, and it's soaking wet.
What about from
So-
a practicality standpoint if you need to have it plugged in?
Well, that's an issue too. You've got to deal with this stuff everywhere. So wherever you go, you've got a cord, and in this case, sitting in standing water. So I'm not in love with that. I'm not.
So Kevin, each
don't like
week when we do this, the things that I would be interested in, because we're selling these wholesale, we're using these actually in the field, is how much it holds, how durable it's going to be, because we don't want to buy disposable machines. And then if there's any danger to it compared to kind of the best, pieces out on the marketplace. So if we
Right.
could say, like, how much does it hold? Do we have a cordless, or does it have a wire, wired where it has to be plugged in? And then, is there any danger to it?
Well, I have a problem with the electrics being in the switch, especially with so much water involved. And the quality of build with things like screws poking through on the hoses and just exposed wiring on a brand new unit. It's never even been used. Like right out of the box, it's falling apart kind of. So, and that's not just the only part. There's like 4 parts on here that are kind of like that. And I hear some people, I talked to somebody yesterday who said that a fair amount of these come right out of the box. They don't even work. So, and people are getting pretty pissed off about that.
And availability wise, we know that these ones coming out of China are coming in lots of 100 or 1,000, and you can get them on like eBay and Amazon for anywhere from $500 to $1,000.
Short windows. No part support whatsoever, and no support really on anything whatsoever. If you have a problem with this, you throw it away.
Get a new one.
So yeah,
Disposable.
so they're totally disposable, and with the barbs poking through on that screw to the hoses, that disposability might be as little as 10 jobs.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Appreciate it. We'll see you next week.